We'll call to order the May 26th Rice County Board of Commissioners meeting. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Bauer.
Here.
Gillen.
Here.
Malika.
Here.
Dockin.
Here.
And Miller.
Here. Second item is approval of minutes from May 12th.
So move approval. Second.
Gillen is in Bauer. We have a motion by Commissioner Gillen, second by Commissioner Bauer to approve the minutes from May 12th. Any corrections or changes? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say motion passes. Next item, approval of minutes May 19th.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Malika, second by Commissioner Dockin. Any changes or corrections? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Next item is the approval of the agenda as written.
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bauer, second by Commissioner Gillen to approve the agenda as written. Any changes, corrections? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed. That carries. Moving on to environmental services with Julian Runkle.
Say, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
didn't we have a committee meeting that we didn't approve?
No, we approved it.
We true that. We approved 2 meetings.
Oh, you're right, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me get with the program.
It's going by so fast.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Good morning. The first item we have is the findings of fact for denial of the CUP amendment request by Biowood Processing. If you recall, this was the Court of Appeals remand that went to the Planning Commission for adoption of the formal findings of fact. The record was closed previously, and the Planning Commission did review the findings of fact from the previous public testimony and the previous findings of fact that you had received when you did your denial back in May of last year. So at this point, the Planning Commission did confirm the findings of fact for the denial of the request for Biowood Processing for the second amendment to this conditional use permit. And at this point, we're just asking the county board to confirm those findings of fact for denial as well.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Malika and second by Commissioner Dockin to approve the findings of facts. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Jake.
Can you give me a little better explanation, Meredith, than what Kim gave on what that finding of fact really is? Other than the explanation that she gave.
Well, this is just housekeeping. We have to pass this in order to make it legal, I guess.
I'm not exactly sure what your question is, Jake, but as you know, Paul Reavers, who represented us at the Court of Appeals, said that this matter needed to come back to the Planning Commission because the only deficiency was that there weren't written findings of fact based on some language in our ordinance that carries a higher burden than what is found in the statute. So this matter came back to the Planning Commission for written findings of fact. The Planning Commission had previously made verbal findings of fact, but they weren't written findings of fact, which was required by the ordinance. So based on the court's remand, the court said, what you need to do is comply with your ordinance, which is propose and approve written findings of fact. The record was closed. There was no testimony taken. There was no submissions allowed because it was only based on the information at the time the record was closed. And at the last Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission reviewed the evidence that they had reviewed previously up until the point where the record was closed, made their written findings of fact based on that record, and it was consistent with the exact same findings of fact that you folks found when you denied the request. And they took a vote on that at their last Planning Commission meeting. But it was simply the written confirmation of what their verbal findings of fact had previously been the year before or whenever that prior hearing was.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else need any clarifications? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed.
The next item is a request from Melissa Horish for conditional use permit for an ag tourism business, and this is in Section 7 of Webster Township. The Planning Commission did recommend approval with 10 conditions.
So moved. Second. I move.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Dawkins, second by Commissioner Malika for a conditional use permit for the tourism business for Horish in Section 7 of Webster Township. Any questions, comments? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
The next request is from Julian Bradmeister for an amendment to Table 508-1 of the Rice County zoning ordinance. This is to add bed and breakfast facility as a conditional use permit in that natural environment shoreline zoning district. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of the zoning ordinance amendment and also recommended to include it in the other shoreline districts as well. If the county board is okay with moving ahead with the Planning Commission's recommendation, we would request a motion to publish the intent and act and set a public hearing for 7:05 p.m. on July 2nd.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dawkins, second by Commissioner Malika to amend the Rice County zoning ordinance Table 508-1. Go ahead.
Julie, did you say a public hearing? Is that what you were saying? Okay.
Yeah, it would be the intent to act in public hearing.
All right.
Public hearing. Any other questions, clarifications? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
The next request is from John and Tara Thiedland for a conditional use permit for a horse riding and boarding stable in Section 35 of Wheatland Township, and the Planning Commission recommended approval with 13 conditions.
So move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dawkins, second by Commissioner Malika for the conditional use permit for their ag tourism business for tailing in Sections 35 of Wheatland Township. Any questions, comments? If not,
Actually, Mr. Chair,
yeah.
clarify the motion. That's for the cup for the horse stable, not the ag tourism.
Oh, okay. It was like freaking out here. Excuse me, thank you for your corrections. Any other questions, corrections? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on.
And the last item I have is resolution number 15023. This is revocation of a conditional use permit for Rita E. Buzzard Trust. This is actually a request that was up to voluntarily revoke the conditional use permit for a salvage yard in Section 24 of Shieldsville Township. The property has been cleaned up and is no longer operating as a salvage yard, so they wanted that revoked from my property.
I'll move to adopt Resolution 15-02. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bauer, second by Commissioner Gillen to approve Resolution 15023. Any questions, comments? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Julie.
Thank you.
Moving on to Parks and Facilities with Jake Raysavi.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I'd like to jump to my third item, if the board would let me. Third item is a park bench donation by Brant Weaver. Brant's a freshman at Northfield High, and I'd like to invite Brant up. He'd like to explain his project and maybe tell us why he chose to donate the park to the county. So Brant, you want to come up?
Hello, I'm Brant Weaver. I live at 2184 Bagley Way on Union Lake. My parents, David and Michelle Weaver, own a business, Weaver Physical Therapy, here in Faribault. I did this project because it came about as a civics project, and I chose this project because I felt strongly that I wanted to help out my immediate community. I noticed a lack of them in Albers Park, which is my neighborhood park. After sketching out some plans, my father and I built this park, and if it's okay with you, I have some photos that I'd like to pass to you.
Sure.
My first photo is just the base of the bench. The second is with all the seat flaps or slats on with the new upright base. The third is finished, and the fourth is after I have sanded it and it's ready for staining. So after staining, I decided I'd like to donate it to Albers Park.
No. Process.
Yeah, we'll probably need a motion to accept the,
I'll move to accept the donation park bench for Albert's Park.
I will second that donation. Or motion. I'll second that donation. I'll second that motion.
we have a motion by Commissioner Dock and second by Commissioner Malt. Monica, questions? Go ahead.
Just a thank you. We appreciate that. You don't get people that, other than maybe the sportsman club, that does donations for around the lake or the parks, and so we greatly appreciate that. And it looks very nice.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for taking an initiative, to do something to improve the parks and to give back to the community.
Okay. Jake?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My dittos as well. I said it's good that somebody thinks of somebody else other than himself all the time. So I said, and as a young person, they really have a lot to learn in that category sometimes. So I said I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Likewise, and to see a young man like this step forward and do some project like this, it's a great example for the other kids out there. So thank you.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the donation of the park bench by Brant. Any other comments, questions? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I'll jump back to my first item. The first item is the Historical Society Building Addition and Renovation Project, change order number 1. The change order consists of adding a gate valve for the city of Faribault in the amount of $1,365, and then also replacing an old lead water service pipe in the amount of $1,135. The total cost of this change was $2,500. Making the new contract sum $476,500. I'd like to recommend approval of change order number 1 in the amount of $2,500 for the historical building addition and renovation project.
So move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gillen, second by Commissioner Bauer. Gillen?
I have to ask, is it in the budget? And how much padding have you got in for change orders?
We roughly,
this project.
we originally started out at a little bit over 600,000, and with the redesign, we had approximately 550,000. I apologize, I didn't bring my
No, that's okay.
summary here with me, but we've got about $30,000 for change orders.
All right.
So, which I don't expect
To use all of it?
Exactly.
All right.
And we're going to keep it at a very low minimum.
Did you see the smiles on all their faces when you said that?
We'll hold him to it, too.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Gill and second by Commissioner Bauer to approve the change order number 1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that carries.
All right, my second item is the Gary Peterson Building Law Office purchase. Gary Peterson's law office building came up for sale with an asking price of $165,000. This was discussed with the building committee, and they authorized us to proceed with negotiations. After review of the building, we realized that it was in excellent shape, and it currently has approximately 1,400 square foot office space on the main floor, and then also 2 apartments on the upper level, which I understand were just recently renovated with not a lot of use. I believe we can rent out the apartments for approximately $1,000 a month for both of them, so about $400 for one and $600 for the other, which would generate some income, and then over the time help us, pay back some of the dollars spent with this purchase. So after negotiations, we reached a final price of $155,000, and also allowing him to occupy and kind of get out of the building for the next 6 months. Funds would be available from fund balance after talking with Fran. So I'd like to recommend approval of the purchase of the Peterson Law Office Building in the amount of $155,000.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Malika, second by Commissioner Gillen to approve the purchase of the Gary Peterson Law Office Building. Any questions? Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
What is the intent then to do with the main floor space? Is that going to be rented out?
We're looking at either renting it out, or we did discuss a little bit, if there's any county departments, if they have like a small division within there that, as you guys know, we are getting a little cramped on space. So, if that can help out, but, I guess the overall intent would be to rent it out if it doesn't work for county needs.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and then Jake, and then,
That was my question, too. Thank you.
all right.
I think Shelley volunteered to go over there.
To get away from us? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Was the law office going to remain in there for a while?
For 6 months.
6 months,
Yep.
okay. Yep.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Jacob, can you explain the overall picture and why? That would be the better question, I guess. Why are we doing this and how it fits into the rest of what we have, I guess, just for
Yep.
public's knowledge.
So before I started here, there was this vision to, kind of acquire that property for, maybe expanding the jail or whatever. So I think when I came, that kind of went to the wayside. And then we just started discussing that, for future expansion of the county campus, whether it's a new building, right now it'll provide, a bunch of these buildings provide additional parking, which, if you go over to Law Enforcement Center, Community Correction, there isn't a lot of parking. So that would be immediately, with these purchases of these buildings. So I guess the long term, whether it's 5, 10 years, if it's a new building for administration or human services, and I do always get a lot of comments from other counties, how envious they are of us that we have a lot of our buildings on one campus. There's a lot of counties that have to chase around the county to get to buildings, which is, money spent. So I guess, like I said, the long-term vision would be to expand the campus, and we are within the 3-block area here, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Malika, second by Commissioner Gillen to approve this purchase. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
All right, thank you, Commissioners.
Next, Auditor Treasurer, Fran.
Good morning. I just have one item on the agenda, and I'm seeking your approval for a temporary 3-2 malt liquor license for North Morristown Community Club Incorporated on July 4th.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dawkins, second by Commissioner Malika to approve the temporary license for North Morristown Community Club. Any questions, comments? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on to Highway Department with Dennis. Morning, Dennis.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. I have 4 items, all contracts for your consideration and action this morning. Item number 1 is seeking board's approval to award contract 1570. That is for our County Road 11 slope failure project due to the rain last year. That is the FEMA project. We've been working with FEMA and the state of Minnesota quite intensely since that declaration was made. So this is a unique project. We followed FEMA and the state's guidelines for developing this project, advertising it, and bidding it. But as you know, this is a unique project. We're actually going to mechanically stabilize the slope out there, and that's very specialized work. So we received 1 bid, and I have to adjust the action item for the board to make the bid contingent upon the state and FEMA's approval of 1 bid. They will have to review the scope of that bid. And we've had this issue before in a different vein when we talk about a federal aid job that has to be awarded contingent upon the disadvantaged business enterprise, the DBE goals. So sometimes we award a bid contingent upon MnDOT's approval. This is the same idea here, except this time we're just waiting for FEMA to review the packet and make sure that our procurement process is up to their standard. So what we did, we had a bid opening on May 14th. We received 1 bid from Geostabilization International, LLC. They were the group that we actually hired as a consultant to come give us some advice when we were faced with this challenge. So we have a bid of $303,986.40, which is below our estimate, but which is a little higher than FEMA's estimate. Hence, I think it's appropriate that we award the bid contingent upon the state and FEMA's approval. So if there's any questions, I could provide more information, but we're looking at a low or contract number 1570 to Geostabilization International.
I'll move to award the contract 1570 to Geostabilization International, contingent on approval by FEMA and State of Minnesota.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Bauer, second by Commissioner Gillen. Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I can see where they'd want to approve this also. They're paying the bill. And it's nice that FEMA's picking up 75% and the state's picking up the other 25%.
That was a commitment from the state as part of the declaration, correct, Commissioner?
And then could you just briefly explain how they're going to, what they're going to do to fix
Sure.
this?
What we have out there is what is called a slope failure. That's where we have a portion of the embankment is just sliding. A couple different approaches were evaluated to try to address that. In the end, this slope nailing was chosen as probably the most cost-effective. And in that particular process, they literally drive in 30-foot-long nails, if you want to call them that. And picture the image of a nail. The head on that nail will compress the outside of the dirt slope that's failing. The nail is driven 30, 35 feet into solid material.
Horizontally?
Horizontally.
Okay.
And I think the grid pattern on that is about every 5 feet. So there will be a significant number of these nails driven horizontally. They will have a boom truck rig that can reach out over that slope, drive them horizontally. Once that pattern is completed, then they will go back and apply picture chain link cyclone fencing. They will apply that over that slope and tie the nail heads to that chain link material, and then they intend to put concrete over that whole face to bind it all together. So it's going to be a unique project for us. It'll be fairly elaborate out there, although it will move rather fast. I think they can, in this type of application, given about the 180 feet of slope we're addressing, I think they feel they can get in there and within 2 weeks have that portion of the work done.
Do they pay cement or pave that whole embankment?
No, it would be shotcrete, which is applied like a hose. They just spray cementous material, and that'll work its way into that chain link fence and then provide, again, more of a comprehensive cap.
All the way from the road edge to?
Down to the bottom of the limit of the nail, not all the way down to the water surface.
Down to where the nails are.
I think the repair segment is approximately 20 feet in vertical distance and 180 feet in horizontally.
Gotcha.
So, and I don't think there's an example near us that we could go look at. I know it's been done in Winona County when they had some slope failures, and it's quite common practice when you're dealing with that type of failure, and luckily we haven't had too many of those. So,
okay, Jake.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's probably a good thing that we've had to wait this long. Basically, that bank has kind of restabilized itself and dried out to a point that better to be fixing it now after that bank has somewhat stabilized itself, and we've kept everybody off of that side of the road for over a year. And I said to try to, if we'd have got FEMA's approval already a year ago, which we could have, that bank hadn't dried out a whole lot, where it's a lot, to me, it's a lot better situation to have to do that now than it would have been at that time, because I said I think that that ground underneath that road is significantly drier than it would have been a year ago if we'd have tried to fix that. You know what I mean? I said I think we can do a lot better job at this point in time, and we were lucky enough that we never had an accident, I don't think, on that whole thing. I said people were very careful of how they drove around there. They knew what it was, and it's been there long enough now that and people recognize that. So I think that this could be a good fix. I said, and that sounds like a good deal. I said, as far as pouring concrete on that, yeah, I get the picture on that, and I think we all do. I said, so that's where we're at.
I think it is appropriate, Commissioner, that we took our time developing this plan. We did look at some other alternatives and felt this was most cost-effective, and this was the least invasive in terms of the other option would be to remove 15, 20 feet of embankment and replace it. So from an aesthetic perspective, I think this will be better. From an environmental perspective, it'll be better. And I do want to, it is worth noting, I think the users and the residents out there should be commended for their patience, because certainly it has been an inconvenience, and it will continue to be an inconvenience for another couple months. But the detour has worked well.
Any other comments, questions? If not, we have a motion on the table. We'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of awarding the contract to Geostabilization International, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That carries. Next one.
Thank you. Second item is another contract. This contract is number 1572 This is a contract put together for the County Road 99 pavement rehabilitation project. If you recall, this has been in our CIP for 3 to 4 to 5 years. We've been waiting for the State Park Road account to help fund a portion of this project. We received that approval earlier this year, so we put it in the process. We received one bid from Crane Creek Asphalt in the amount of $1,159,864.19. Unfortunately, we are seeing more single bids on our bituminous projects, and I just think that's an issue of proximity, and that particular industry continues to be very tight in this part of the state. So I have no reservations about awarding this contract to Crane Creek in that amount. They've done excellent work for us for a number of years, and this bid is, I think, within 1% of our estimate, and that doesn't happen too often, but it's a good bid. So I would seek board approval on contract 1572.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mock, a second by Commissioner Bauer to approve contract 1572, awarding it to Crane Creek Asphalt. Any questions, comments? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That carries.
Thank you. Third item is a contract number 15-02. That signifies a maintenance contract, if you will. We've developed some plans on our CASA 21 corridor south of Faribault, kind of a number of contracts over a couple-year period. This element is to address significant ditch work that needs to be done along portions of this 3-mile road. We're not going to ditch both sides of a 3-mile road. But we developed some plans, and we reached out to a couple local contractors and had some discussions with them. And in the end, we received one proposal from Nurstrand Excavating in the amount of $44,724.50 to excavate and reshape some of the ditches on that road, and I would seek board approval of that contract 15-02 for that work.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mock, a second by Commissioner Gillen to award the contract to Nurstrand Excavating for the ditch cleaning. Any comments, questions? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That carries.
Okay, fourth and final contract, and this is another unique one. Contract 1573 was developed for multiple centerline culvert replacements or drainage improvements is a better definition of that on our County Road 46 project. Our County Road 46 project is scheduled for next year to basically repave the existing roadway surface and widen the road and pave shoulders. Part of that project, obviously we look at drainage needs along that 7-mile segment. Earlier this year, we've awarded 3 individual contracts, I believe, for major culvert replacements out there. This particular contract is developed to address the smaller culverts that carry local drainage under the road. There's 23 of them, I believe, along the 7-mile segment, and this contract is to proposes to award work to line 9 metal pipes that are rusting and failing. Typically, in the past, we've awarded a contract, or maintenance may go out and open cut the road. That would be 9 detours. That would be 9 road closures in this case. So due to the traffic volume on that road, due to the fact we're going to, our goal next year is to expedite paving. And in that regard, we don't want to add 23 or 9 or 15 or any combination of centerline culvert replacements that a grading contractor has to come in, remove the culvert, replace the new one, backfill. and so on and so forth. And if you add that amount of time, it's our estimate that would add 3 weeks to the construction project next year. So this proposal was developed after having some discussions with Freeborn County and the state of Minnesota. They have both used this particular contractor to do similar type culvert liner work. It is rather a large proposal. It's $170,565. It is to address, again, 9 of the 24 pipe that we have out there. The other 15, we have more time. Those 15 pipe are concrete pipe, so we have a little bit more flexibility about when we need to go in and do some repairs on those. It's my recommendation we enter into contract 1573 in the amount of $170,565 to Subsurface Inc. To replace, line 9 of those center line culverts. And I'm sure there'll be some discussion.
I'll move to award the contract 1573 to Subsurface Incorporated.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dawkins, seconded by Commissioner Gillen. Gillen, question?
A couple of questions. This is 7 miles. Is it starting at 21 and going north 7 miles?
That's correct, Commissioner. It begins at the Faribault city limits, and we will be repaving 7 miles up to the roundabout
Okay.
in next year's program.
All right. My next question is, what's the life of the culvert liners, and what materials do they use? Can you go through
Excellent
that
question.
process?
The state has, the design life is 75 years. And this process that we're proposing today and the contracts developed is to, they would analyze each specific location, look at the amount of fill over the top of that pipe, which is variable along a roadway, and then they engineer or design a thickness of a fiberglass liner. So the fiberglass liner is prepared off-site. It comes to the job site in a flexible state, if you will, so they can pull it through the pipe. It's a flexible membrane at that point in time. And then they will plug each end, and they will put in a ultraviolet light and a form that will expand the liner to fit precisely around the existing pipe. And that will cure, the ultraviolet light will cure the fiberglass liner. It's very high-tech. It's becoming more popular when you look at all the other costs incurred, including the user costs of detours around all of these centerline culvert replacements. And we will be monitoring this along with a lot of other folks aggressively, because I do believe there's a lot more of this in our future. It's just cost-effective to look at lining an existing pipe as long as the alignment of that pipe hasn't shifted too much. It might be very cost-effective to line pipes rather than open cut the roadway. In some cases, we have 20 feet of fill on top of these pipe, and that becomes a considerable expense and time and detour, and you have other issues associated with that. So the liner, Commissioner, might only be half an inch in diameter. The strength of that is enough to bridge the weight above it. And I think they thought if everything goes well in their production cycles, they might be able to do 2 a day. So it's a very quick process, whereas, again, open cutting, we have a detour, we have a day to remove the pipe, we have a day to bed the pipe, we have a day to backfill the pipe, and then we wait for, other issues to arise and address. And traffic is maintained on County Road 46, which has upwards of 1,500 vehicles a day, if not more. So,
Any other questions? Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, doing the math, it's just shy of 19,000 a culvert. Well, I can't imagine that must be pretty much on the money as far as open cutting, and some of them are going to be significantly more. I would think that the deeper ones certainly would be more money than that to do the whole process. And I think what I like more than anything is less disruptive, in that year or 2 years of settling before we finally for sure have the dirt where we want it to be before we put the new tar over the top, which we seem to run into occasional issues throughout the county, will be eliminated. I like the idea that we're working hard on getting these centerline pipes done before the whole project starts, and I think that so everything goes smooth as far as the tarring, the milling and tarring of it, so, or overlay of concrete really is what we're going to do. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think, again, I think we will be very hands-on and looking at additional applications of this technology, if you will.
All right. Jake?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there any size stipulations that we probably wouldn't do in this manner? Like on my road, those were awful big culverts that we, centerline culverts that we replaced a year ago. I said, is there any particular size, 2 feet, 3 feet, or something that has got an actual size that you could, where that wouldn't be the practical way to do it?
That's a great question, Commissioner. I think the vendor would tell you there's nothing we can't line.
Really?
I think they would be able to have their engineering side of their operation look at the particulars and come up with a design. But I think what you find is when you get into those larger diameter culverts, the thickness of the fiberglass membrane and the processes then become a little bit more costly. Yep. So we did an analysis, and we felt that, and again, we have just, hundreds, if not thousands, of 24-inch diameter pipes under our roads, and 30-inch, and 36, and we move in. The bulk of them are in that range. We think that until we get up to about a 48-inch diameter, this is a no-brainer. Okay. If we can get in there and line pipes, it's much more cost-effective than detours and all the issues. But it could be it could be a process where you have very unique situations, and they could probably design something to fit to address it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? If not, we have a motion on the table. Motion was made by Commissioner Dockin, second by Commissioner Gillen, to award the contract 1573 to Subsurface, Inc. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Dennis. Moving on, Tony Murphy is not here right now. We have the consent agenda. I think we can proceed with.
Oh, I don't know. Are you sure about that?
I'm going to go on a limb.
Okay. You're not nervous or anything?
No.
Okay. Just checking.
So move approval for the consent agenda?
Second.
I think they tied.
Yeah. We have a motion by Commissioner Gillen, second by Commissioner Dockin, to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next item, we'll move along with consideration of staffing requests. The Personnel Committee looked at this and made recommendations to approve 3 positions in the Social Services Departments. Anybody have any questions? Anybody on the Personnel Committee have any more to add to this? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Only that, the state is funding most of these positions, so it's not coming out of county budget.
Thank you. We could use a motion at this point.
So moved.
Second.
Thank
Just
you.
wanted to stay longer.
Yeah.
Home here, or what, a second?
Wake up. We have a motion by Commissioner Maka, second by Commissioner Dockin, to approve the staffing requests in the Social Services Department. Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. One more.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Malika, second by Commissioner Gillen to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.